Baby, it's cold outside.
It is right chilly outside.
Yeah, I know you don't like that song. I probably shouldn't have sung that.
No, you really shouldn't have.
But it is cold outside.
Yeah, so let's warm up.
You want some soup tonight?
Oh, soup. That sounds good. Let's do that.
Yeah. Will you get me the can opener?
Sure. Babe, there's not a can opener here.
Yeah, it's in the back of the drawer.
No.
Can opener's in the back of the drawer.
It's not. I'm looking at it. There's not a can opener in here.
We have a can opener in this Airstream.
Well, I can't find it, but I do know where one is.
I do too.
Oh, yeah. Let's head to Florida, baby.
Yes, here we go. It's the Riveted
with Chris and Gina.
We're really not going to can opener, but we know it's happening.
It'd be nice.
Listener, today you're in for a treat.
A very, very, very special treat.
Yeah, well, we have had guests on in the past that have had special things that they've done since they've been Airstreamers, and we've come to realize that some of the ones that write books and are authors are some of the most fun conversations we've had.
Of course. Well, they're all fun, but they bring a unique perspective to things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we have somebody on this week that they've turned the open road into not just a path, but a life.
Yes.
And they've also, I think, Gina, are one of the longest running full-time Airstreamers that we've met so far.
Oh, maybe. I hadn't thought about that, but I think you're right.
I mean, since we chatted, they've been doing it a long time. So we're excited to have Kristy Halvorsen on today. She is a solo Airstream nomad, been doing it a long time. We can't wait to hear all about it. But
she's pretty cool. She's a storyteller, and I don't know if people may have recognized her name, Chris, but she writes for the Blue Beret as well.
Yeah.
That's pretty nice. Yeah.
That's like full credentials and everything. But she also is the author of a wonderful memoir called The Perfect Unfolding. And we can't wait to chat with her about her Airstream life and about this memoir. It's about trading her dream home and career to migrate with the seasons in her Airstream and all the amazing things that come along with it. And we're just super excited. Kristy, welcome to the Riveted with Chris and Gina.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Hi, Kristy. We're excited you're here.
Yeah. We understand you're in Florida chilling out in the nice warmth. We wish we were down there with you.
Yes.
Yeah, winter is the best time of year to be in Florida, that's for sure.
I agree. Because otherwise you're melting.
Well, we're excited to have you on the podcast. And, whenever we learn about somebody's kind of unique aspect of their life that goes along with Airstream ownership and travel, it's always fun to have that conversation. So we look forward to it today.
Me too. I can't wait to see where we go.
Yeah.
Well,
where are we going, Gina?
You never can tell with us. Yeah.
We're going to go somewhere fun.
We are.
Yeah.
But we can't get there unless we talk about the Airstream, right?
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, you do have one, don't you, Kristy?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sitting in her right now.
That's awesome. Yeah. Tell us about it. What do you have?
I have a 2002 28 Classic, and her name is Coddiwomple, but I only call her that when she's in trouble. I call her Coddy most all the time. So, yeah.
Like you say a full name when somebody gets in trouble, like,
oh, yeah.
First, middle, last.
I do that to you all the time, don't I?
Yeah, that makes sense. So that's a very cool name.
It is.
It is. It's funny. It's just kind of start off the Airstream story. I saw the word Coddiwomple on a meme back in 2016, and I didn't have an Airstream at that point. And the moment I saw that word and saw what it meant, what just meant to travel without really having a clue where you're headed, I just knew that was my word. And in fact, I turned to my boyfriend at the time and I said, Coddiwomple, that's our Airstream's name. She's out there somewhere. We just have to find her.
Yeah.
So that's how it all started.
That's great.
Well, that's pretty cool, actually, because most people get their rig first, and then they have to come up with a name depending on what adventures they're on or whatever. But she had the name first, and she just had to find the rig.
Yep, that's right.
But you said that you already knew when you saw that name that you were getting an Airstream. Have you always thought that you'd have an Airstream, or did you grow up around them, or how did that start?
No, I didn't grow up around RVs at all. We camped, and as an adult, I camped a lot, just intense though. And then I came up with this crazy dream to live full time in an RV, and my partner at the time, he and I just started researching like what's the best RV to live in, and we realized through lots of thorough research, he's an engineer and I'm a ex-engineer, that there was no other choice but Airstream. And because we wanted to do something custom, we wanted to have something where two people could work and live and, not be on top of each other.
Right.
And it's one of the only RVs you can actually customize once you get it. And the fact that they last forever as long as you take care of them. I tell people that all the time. I'm like, they're turtles. They'll outlive you if you take care of them.
That's right.
So because of those two things, we just were like, that's all there is. It's an Airstream. And then we actually bought neither one of us had ever had an RV, so we wanted to buy a lesser expensive, smaller one to get a feel. So we bought a Casita, and we owned a Casita for about a year and a half, and then quickly moved up to the Airstream.
Yeah, your comment there about how you can remodel them compared to other RVs, and that is true. Like, you've got such an amazingly well-built shell in the Airstream travel trailer that even if you
completely gut it
and redo it, you could even do it again.
Yeah.
I mean, like you could change it and modify. I mean, all those kind of updates or improvements you can do because the shell is still so solid. You can't do that with any box trailer.
Well, not over and over, because
no way
they don't hold up.
Yeah. And that's a good point. I mean, like you're 2002 28 foot, so you're well over 20 years old and still enjoying it and in it every single day. That's
true. And I bought it from a full-timing couple, and they had lived in it, I think, for 4 years, and I've been in it for over 8 years. So this old girl has been full-timing on the road for 12 years straight, and she's still going. And you couldn't say that about most RVs. And that's why I got one.
And the aspect of full-time and straight 12 years. So like you'd mentioned to us when we chatted that you've been doing this a long time. So when did you get it? When did you start?
We bought it in June of 2017, and then I hit the road solo on my own. What was it? November of 2017. So now we're 8 years and a month out from starting.
Now that's the kind of remodel that I want to know how you did.
What are you talking about? Like, remodel her
partner right out the door.
That's not nice, Gina.
Well, it was actually his choice. I was sad about it, but we split up just before. I don't think he actually wanted to. It was always my dream.
Yeah.
And he sounded excited, but in the end, he didn't want to do that. So.
Well, I can understand that from an engineer. Yeah,
exactly. So that's actually where the book starts. I tell that little story about how I didn't think I could do this on my own. I really, really didn't. I thought as soon as he said I'm out and then we broke up, I thought it's over. I'm not going to live my dream. And then my mom thankfully came in and set me straight in a really loving, like a tough love kind of way. And then I was on the road less than 2 months later.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I remembered. I couldn't remember the exact month, but I thought it was 17. And, that's when Gina and I got ours too, June of 2017. So
nice.
We're right there in that wheelhouse of time. And
we're not too far away from hitting the road at the same time.
Yeah. And could you agree with this statement that just time flies when you're having fun?
Oh, I can't believe it's been 8 years. It really, I look back and I'm thinking, if I didn't know, I would have thought it would be, maybe a couple years tops. It's just, it's incredible the number of people I've met, the places I've been. I mean, Coddy has been to the lower 48, and I've been to all 50. But just the people and the places. And by the way, what's fun about me and Coddy is we don't like campgrounds. So
yes,
it is a rare chance. Other than if it's at a rally, I'm rarely ever in a campground. So I'm way off the beaten path, down dirt roads and you name it.
Yeah, and see, I like that. And it's good to hear you say that, being a solo woman and living off grid and like off the beaten path. I like that, because there's a lot of listeners out there who are like, oh, I couldn't do that, but yeah,
you absolutely can.
Absolutely.
You can.
Yeah. And you did it, and you're proof that it can be done.
Yeah. And it's a whole lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. It's freedom, right?
It is.
I'm okay. It takes courage. It does. It takes courage to do that. But once you take that step, doesn't it? Well, to me, I think it felt like it got easier and easier. Every day got easier and easier as far as living the full-time life.
Yeah, it does. And oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. We interrupt each other all the time. Just
good. I fit right in.
Just jump in, or you don't get a word in.
Yeah, my first year was rough actually because I didn't know what I liked yet. And I was doing what I thought I would do, which is staying in campgrounds and RV resorts. And I was not having a fun time. And it didn't take me a year. I think my first really foray into really being out in the wilderness, far off the beaten path, was March of 18. But even then, it was just a cool experience. I didn't know that that's where my heart wanted to be. So that it took about a year for me to realize what I really liked. And then, thankfully, I listened to some friends' advice and got the solar set up because that changed everything too. It was really tough trying to live off of the, AGM batteries in one panel. And once I upgraded to the full setup, then, oh my goodness, like that was it. I knew what I liked, I knew what I wanted, and I was set up with the solar and the composting toilet and everything you need to live off grid as long as you want. And then that's when it was around, the end of 18 is when I really kind of hit the ground running.
Right.
Yeah. That is such a game changer to have the confidence to know that I can go 10 miles down this dirt road and stay here for a week if I want to, because I have everything I need.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And, I think personally that an Airstream can do that from a travel trailer perspective in the RVing space. An Airstream can do that better than anything else because, you have, I kind of call it that stealthy aspect of it where it can get into some unique little places just because of its size and shape and no slide outs and no, hard corners and big, height that you have with some of the big tall box trailers and stuff. So it's, just having the confidence that thing is back there and you can take it anywhere you want is so liberating, I guess.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And then I tell you, there's a few things I'm like, if you want to live off grid full time, there's a few things that'll change your life. And one of them is a 3-inch lift. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
There's the solar panels, the composting toilet. I tell people the composting toilet might be my MVP because I can live out in the forest indefinitely. And not only because people think of wastewater, and that is a big thing. Like, you don't want to have to be hauling your rig to dump your black water.
Right.
But to me, it's the water consumption. And that's there's been a few people that have read my book and they're like, I just don't know how you do it. Because I say I can live off my tank, which is 60 gallons for 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And so that ends up being right about, what is that? 20 gallons a week. So 3 gallons a day.
And that's showering and everything.
Showering. And I don't like to go to bed dirty. So I shower pretty much every night and I drink from my tank. I use a Berkey water filter, but I drink from my tank. So that's drinking water, shower, dishes, everything. Mm-hmm. I can make it off of an average of 3 gallons a day if I really need to.
Yes.
Yeah. And,
and I think, I'm sorry, Chris, I have to say this. And when you think of people in their homes, they probably use 60 gallons a day.
Oh, it's hard telling what it could be. I mean, it's over the top.
They just let their water run constantly when they're washing their hands, brushing their teeth, whatever. So,
well, there's something to be said in this particular subject about having creature comforts and luxuries for enjoying a really nice, interior space and camping style of a beautiful Airstream, right? And some people are thinking, no, I want to, plug in and I want to be able to take a 10-minute shower like I do at home. And I want all the comforts, and there's nothing wrong with that. But, and I don't know that we've talked much about a composting toilet on our podcast so far, Gina, but
we haven't.
But there is an aspect to living off the grid that's taking it to that level that, people just may not be aware of, but once they understood why, they would probably go, oh, well, I can get by living without that.
Yeah.
You know, and because of the other benefits that come along with it. And yeah, we traveled with some friends several years ago that they had a fifth wheel, but they put a composting toilet in it, and they figured out a way to make their black tank be able to hold their gray water too. So they essentially doubled their gray water capacity, and then they had a composting toilet for the black. And I mean, they never had to. I mean, they could go for a long time.
Yeah.
And when you're in a beautiful location, especially off the grid, and you have everything you need, and you're in good weather, why leave?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know?
And I that's how I feel. And I've done, it's actually really easy mod to it's just a knife valve. It's another valve you put on the end of your where you dump your dump valve. And it just, so you have a third valve and you leave your other two valves open, and then suddenly they feel equally. So I have the same thing. So I have so much gray capacity that I would never use it. Cause like I said, it takes me 3 weeks to go through 60 gallons. And a lot of that's, going in me and other places. So
yeah.
So I can go a month or a lot more than a month, just on my two gray tanks. And the question you asked about why would you leave? I've had that happen. It's an interesting, it's a funny story, but I found myself in this beautiful place in the Canadian Rockies. And I mean, I wasn't planning to go there. I just kind of drove by and I was just like, oh my goodness, this is heaven on earth. Just mountains, just Rocky Mountains in every direction, a river right outside my front door. And the thing is to get to a grocery store was 4 hours round trip.
Oh boy.
And it's funny because I'm a full-time RVer. I don't really like driving. I mean, I drive to get somewhere, but I don't go joyriding. And the grocery store wasn't even that great, the one that was 4 hours round trip. So I had a bunch of flour because I like making my own pizza. So I Googled how to make bread, and I learned how to make bread, and I had some extra quinoa and rice and beans, and I lost weight. I loved it so much. I was out there for a little over a month and hadn't planned on it at all. So I literally I showed up with not prepared to stay that long. But I tell you that something else that I found years in was I bought just a portable tank. Like it's just a fabric bag with some valves on it you can take and fill up with water.
Right.
And in situations like that, that's why I was able to stay there. Having, I probably showed up with 15 or 20 gallons. And I ended up staying there a month because, I just took my bag out a couple times over the month and filled it. It's a 30-gallon bag. But yeah, living like this and having an RV set up like the Airstream and with everything you need, like what I tell people is Coddy's just like a flower. She needs sunlight and water, and all I need is a grocery store every now and then.
Yeah.
And we can live off grid indefinitely, like forever. Like I've gone 9 months without plugging in.
Yeah.
It's not hard to do.
No.
Yep. Yeah. We, of course, we haven't gone that long, but we did a full winter into spring season in southern Arizona a few years back, and we never plugged in. I mean, it was.
We would happily go that long. It just seems like we always end up, going somewhere else.
Well, yeah. I mean,
keep moving.
It depends on the direction we head and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's inspirational to hear you describe it that way, and the comfort you have in seeking those kind of situations out to camp like that, because it's a game changer. It feels so different camping like that than camping in a campground.
Yes.
It almost doesn't even feel like the same activity.
All right. It's totally different.
Yeah. And and you've been enjoying it for years that way. And yeah, it's just wonderful to hear.
And, going full time and doing it like you've done it, being off grid and everything that we're talking about. And I'm sure you've had challenges, but through all of that, is there a challenge or something that still, even though you have all the knowledge and all the experience now, under your belt, is there anything out there that still surprises you, that challenges you here and there?
As an Airstreamer?
Yeah.
That's a good question, Gina.
You know, it's funny because when you said, "Is there anything that surprises you?" I was thinking all the good stuff, and then you're like, "The challenges you," and I'm like,
but
one
good.
of the
That's okay. It can be good or positive or negative. It's just something
well, I
that
can do
is a
both.
challenge. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll start with the challenge first. I I'm mechanically inclined, but I do not like fixing stuff. It is not something like some people are like, "Oh, yippee, I can't wait and go, fill in the blank to go fix something."
Mm-hmm.
And I can honestly say, if I never had to fix anything again, I would I would happily do that route. But living like I do and being, you know, out in the middle of nowhere, like I had to get really good at knowing what to fix and how to fix it. And that's another reason I think that first year or so was really rough 'cause I didn't know stuff would break and I would have no clue what to do. And it's nice now 'cause, every once every few years, my water heater will go out, and it might be, like, 10 o'clock at night, and I'll be like, "Oh, I know how to fix that." And I'll go get the part. And that's another thing is through the years, I've learned what spare parts are good to have on hand. So I'll go get the part and a flashlight, and 5 minutes later, my water heater is fixed. And and I had a friend with me once when I had to do it, and they were just like, kidding me? Did you just fix the water heater by yourself in the dark in 5 minutes with a part that you happen to have in your truck? And I'm like, I didn't happen to have it. I learned through experience
Yeah.
I needed to have this part. And it's the little safety device. It's the fusible link on the water
Mhm.
heater.
Right.
And those are full-time living, those are bound to go out at least every, 3 or 4 years, if not sooner. And you just know to carry one. But I tell you what, there's some times where things break and I don't have either I'm missing the tool or I haven't done it before and it gets frustrating. But that's something else I shared is in the book is how I realized through living this life that everything at first it was just Coddy and her repairs, but I realized it applies to everything. But everything can be a tragedy, like, "Oh, woe is me. I might as well pack my bags and, find a realtor
Right.
to buy a house." It can either be a tragedy or it can be a love story. And I learned that through Coddy. And a friend of mine tipped me off to this in my first year when he said that about fixing Coddy. And he's
Mhm.
like, "Hey, every time she breaks, it can either be a tragedy or you can look at it as a way to intimately get to know Coddy in a way you never have before." And so even though I get frustrated and I might swear and my knuckles might bleed every now and then, there's something deep inside that's like, "Okay, I'm just learning. I'm getting to know Coddy. I'm gonna make this a love story." And then after doing that with Coddy so much and seeing how that worked out so well, I realized that that's with everything in our life. Like,
Yeah.
everything in life can either be a tragedy or a love story, and Coddy helped me realize that.
Yeah.
That's great. It's like that transition into humans and life and relationships.
Sure
and
does.
So much. Yeah.
Well, and I'm going to in a way tie that back into the Airstream a little bit tighter. And just hearing what you said is there's things that you have to tighten and fix and adjust, and to keep a 20+ year old Airstream rolling down the road, you got to keep your eye on it and that kind of stuff.
You got to massage that
But
baby.
but the point you just made there that your friend said is that you got to go fix something, and it could be frustrating, and you don't want to do it. But when you go through that process and you learn it, and then you know your Airstream at the level you do, then it just becomes more and more part of your life.
Right.
It's not just it's not just an RV. It becomes part of you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think is so cool about Airstream is that there's so much energy around the history of the brand and the longevity and that kind of stuff, and all the people that have gone before us that have taken 40, 50+ year old rigs and they're still on the road, or they've remodeled them, and they've done the same thing you just described about having to fix a water heater or fix a door or put rivets in or whatever they had to do. And it just doing those kind of things respects the quality of the Airstream, in my opinion, and makes it makes you be that much more closer to it. And it's awesome that you're doing that out on the road solo, it's off the grid, not pulling it into a shop, not having somebody do the work for you. It's,
I mean, there may be a time and a place for that to happen.
Some, yeah.
But, and I said massage because that's what we call it with our rig, is that we're constantly massaging, we're constantly checking things
Touching
out,
it,
and making sure things are working properly and stuff. Yeah. So we totally agree with that and understand where you're coming from with that. It's very important.
I wanted to ask a question, kind of shifting the conversation a little bit, is from our kind of warm up pre-chat that we had a few weeks ago. I think you had mentioned that you had a pretty significant or important career, I guess, in your pre-Airstream life, and how that, I don't know if that motivated you to totally change and become a traveling nomad, or if it was just, and you've talked about having your dream to travel in an RV, but like, do you mind sharing a little bit about that? Like what you did in life, and then how you've transitioned and why you transitioned into being a full-time RVer?
Sure. Yeah. So I was the bulk of my working life, I was a firefighter paramedic down in Southwest Florida on the Gulf Coast. And so the story of how I got on the road was I imagined living this lifestyle once I retired. And as a firefighter, you get to retire rather early in your early 50s. And so I'd planned somewhere between 50 and 52, just living in an RV full time. Well, in my mid 30s, I got exposed to some chemicals during a fire, and I got really sick. I had a autoimmune disease that was affecting my nerves, my hands and feet, and they were afraid it was going to start, attacking other organs. And then I started getting that somewhat under control, and then I tore my ACL, my knee. I tore up my knee pretty good on duty at the fire department. And that I'd done that before, and I knew that was a 9-month minimum rehab. And so it was the combination of the sickness and then the knee injury. I was just like, I think I was 35 at the time, and I was just like, I don't know what kind of shape I'm gonna be in, or if I'm gonna be around in my early 50s. And then that's when the dream happened. That's when I said, "You know what? What if we just hit the road? What if we?" I had my coaching and mentoring practice. I mainly did for fun then. I thought, I could ramp up this business, and he could start his own business, and we could hit the road together. And so that's how that dream was born in my mid 30s. And I initially thought it would take 5 years. But at that time, I'd never even owned an RV. So I thought it would take 5 years to get everything set. And that was 2015. And then little did we know, by November of 17, pretty much half the time I was on the road full time, and the rest is history. So my job, I love my job, by the way. I really did. But I didn't want to miss out on life. I really didn't know what kind of shape I'd be in when I retired. And I just thought life is too short, and I'm going to take what looked to me back then as one of the biggest risks of my life, to sell my house, quit my job. I was a station officer, so I was a lieutenant in the fire service and ran the fire station. And that's the kind of job people strive for their whole career. And then, it's when you get there, you're like, oh, I've made it. And a lot of people couldn't understand why I'd let that go, because once I quit, I knew I couldn't go back. You can't just quit and then change your mind and come back and get your position back. That was out. So people didn't understand. I'm going to leave all the benefits, the pension, the job, the house, and do what?
Yeah.
And it was scary. And I always, even up to the day I walked out of the firehouse for the last time, and even up to the day I drove away from my house for the last time, I was like, I sure hope I don't regret this. But I didn't really know if I would, And I can tell you, within a couple years, I was like, best decision of my life. Yeah. Like, bar none, there's nothing I could have done better,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Totally agreed.
Well, where I was going to go, it's wonderful what you just shared there. But one of the reasons why I was asking that question is, like, that kind of profession and what you did is a very regimented and rules and regulations kind of career. And being a full-time solo traveling Airstreaming nomad is almost the exact opposite of that. So, are you getting along okay? Are you able to do that?
Oh, yeah. Well, I tell you what, that's where Coddiwompling comes into play, because Coddiwompling is having no clue what you're going to do and being open to anything.
Yeah.
And I still feel like in some ways I'm a little regimented, like, because the fire department is kind of paramilitary,
Yeah.
and at the same time, people don't realize as, firefighters, because we were all dual certified in Florida, so we call ourselves firefighters, but we do probably at least 80% EMS medical stuff.
Yeah.
So we're dual certified, and there's so many times you show up on scene and you've done the training because we train all the time, so you know what to do. And then there's times when you show up on scene, especially as an officer, whereas, when we show up on scene, I'm the one making the decisions. You show up and you're like, "Oh my goodness, like, we didn't train for this." And we have it's almost like I joke around with friends, like, sometimes you show up on scene, you're like, "Somebody needs to call somebody to get some help with this," and you realize, "No, we are the help, like, we're the ones that are supposed to fix this."
Yeah.
And so, as firefighters, you just learn there's no giving up. There's no, like, "I give up, I'm throwing in the towel, I can't figure it out." That is not an option. So you just start trying stuff, and you fly by the seat of your pants, and as a team, eventually something happens and somebody figures something out, or we get an idea, or just magically, the situation gets better, you name it. But I learned from firefighting that there's no giving up. It's gonna work out. You just gotta keep taking one step at a time. And I joke around that, all those years of working in the fire department taught me that the seat of my pants has wings,
Oh,
and that's what you learn. And so I know that having that mentality, like that way of living and that way of being for a 14-year career, it helped me in my full-timing, because there was plenty of times where I was just like, "I wanna throw in the towel, I am done." Like,
yep.
I'm waving my, white flag, and then I just, I get over myself, and I just try something else, and do
Ooh,
something else, and figure it out.
that was a great statement you just made. You get over yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know that people know how to do that. Sometimes they get in their own way, don't they?
Well, that's the only way we ever get in, is our own way. Like,
That's true.
so we
Yeah.
can all get over ourselves. It's just a matter of being up to not knowing. I think
Right.
being okay with the unknown and being okay with not knowing,
Yeah.
in a way, is the magic elixir to getting over yourself. Because when I say getting over myself, it's just, my busy voice in my head, which I don't think is myself. It's just this voice in my head. The busy voice in my head will forecast all the worst case scenarios and tell me how this is never gonna work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a matter of kinda just hearing his background noise,
Right.
being open to not knowing and figuring it out, and that's it. That's, to me, is getting over yourself.
Yeah. Well, I like that. I like what you just said right there.
Yeah. Well,
And without
and I hear it, and I'm like, as she's saying that, I'm like, I do that.
yes, you do.
Yeah, I do.
I
do.
tell you that all the time, don't I?
Yep, I do. Wow, that's good.
But listening to that, and Chris is very familiar with the firefighters and EMS and all that. From not that he was one, but was
I
in
worked in that
sales,
industry, yeah.
and he worked in that industry, so he knows how all that works and stuff. And then plus, coming from an engineering background, and all, you've had a lot of regimen and stuff, and to me, and it's so total opposite, almost being free, like what we've been talking about. And I just wonder, like, do you feel like your sense of identity or your purpose has shifted? And if so, how does that feel to you?
Hmm. Yeah, I think so. I'll answer the identity first and then go to purpose. So, you know, I feel like before I went on this journey, which I like to call it, I didn't know it, but I was sending on myself on a modern day walkabout like the Aboriginals do,
Mm-hmm.
where you just go off in the wilderness by yourself.
Yes.
And I didn't know that's what I was doing, but that's in essence what I did. So I saw so much about life and living and who we are, just being by myself out in the forest and in the deserts, and I share a lot of that in the book. And I feel like before living full time in Coddy, I had an identity that I thought I knew who I was and what I liked and didn't like, and you name it. And yeah, I still quote have an identity now, but I think part of my walkabout, part of my transformative journey of, living this life was letting go of labels and beliefs and ideas about myself and others in life. And so I feel like, you know, it's kind of almost impossible not to have an identity. And yet I feel like I have so much less of an identity now than I did 8 years ago when this journey began. And I see that as a real gift.
I,
And
I
I,
have to agree with that. I'm sitting here processing this as you're saying it, and I have to agree with that. That is a gift.
yeah. Well, I mean, the ability to decide whether you want to have that identity or a particular identity or not, and the lifestyle is what is giving you that ability to make that decision in a way, and the length of time that you've been doing it and all the experiences you've had gives you that I guess privilege to decide how you want to uh, look at yourself and look at your life in that way, and that's a good thing. And
yeah,
I mean the you know the memoir that you wrote and the experiences that you had to and that you lived in order to put that down on paper, on print, to come up with that book. Everything we're talking about right here is part of that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
it is.
Yeah.
It is.
And the part of, there's a lot of people that were excited back, 7, 8, 9 years ago or so, and got into full-time RVing, and they bought an RV, and
Even during COVID, when
Yeah.
everybody went out and bought an RV.
yeah,
Mhm.
and the popular thing to do, or what a lot of people did, was they started YouTube channels, and they started video blogging their travels and their experiences and put it up on YouTube.
Mhm.
And you chose to enjoy those experiences and put it in a memoir. And what was kind of the motivation for that? Like, why you chose that path, which is wonderful.
Yeah. As soon as he said why you chose that path, I'm like, I feel like all the paths just choose me, like, that's how I've lived ever since. And it was November 30th of 17 was the day I drove off. And that day I left my driveway, my old driveway, with the idea that I'm going to live life and travel by the tickles of my soul. So what I mean by the tickles of my soul is what some people would call your gut instinct or your
Mhm.
fall in your heart. And I knew when I set off, I wanted to just wander and not know where I'm headed and not know what's coming next. And so that's how I've lived. That's how I travel. That's how I live in my life, both physically and personally and spiritually is I wander, and I'm up for anything, and I don't know where I'm going. So that's why I say I feel like I don't choose the paths choose me. And, about a year into my journey, I had so many people that were my Facebook friends is where I'd share all the crazy cool things I was up to. They would be like, we need to book. And for years and years, people were asking me to write a book. And I was just like, believe it or not, I was like, I just don't even know what I'd write about. and then this year that Perfect Unfolding is a 1-year snapshot. So
Yeah.
you jump in. Well, the way I like to see it is it's almost like you feel like you're driving the truck. And if you don't feel like you're driving the truck, you at least feel like you're in the passenger seat, and you get to go on this adventure for 1 year. So I started it on May 19th and it ends May 19th, 365 days later.
Mhm.
And I didn't know when that first May 19th happened, I didn't know that that was gonna be a book. And it just there were so many things that happened in this 1 year that were I'd share stuff on my social media, and people would say, "Come on, did that really happen?" And that happened so many times in this 1 year that I thought, I have to write a book about this. Like, this is it.
Right.
This is the year. And so even the book writing, it chose me. And one really, really crucial bit of this, why why you can hold this book in your hands is I was heading towards the Atlantic north coast. I didn't really know where I was headed, but I just wanted to go to the Atlantic and go north. And I was in Quebec, and I just happened to meet this beautiful couple, um, that were French Canadian, and we ended up having so much in common, and we just turned into a little traveling family. Like, we ended up traveling together for quite some time. And very early on, maybe the first 3 or 4 days of us, traveling together, we were me and Danielle, the wife, were sitting out watching the sun come up over a lake and just talking about life, and she said, "Are you journaling? Like, honey, I hope you're journaling." I'm like, "Nope, I don't journal." And she said, "I will give you a journal. Please just start today and just start writing. Just tell us your ideas and views on life, and then tell us the people you meet and what happens. But just tell yourself, don't tell anybody else, just put it in a journal." And I said, "Okay, I'll do it." And then that was right after the 1st of July. It was probably, like, right around 3rd or 4th of July. So by December, all of a sudden I said, "Oh my gosh." That's when I knew I had to write a book, and if it wasn't for Danielle suggesting I journal, this book wouldn't exist because there's so much detail in this book that I couldn't have remembered. In fact, some people, they've come to me and they're like, "I feel a little embarrassed because I feel like I am, like, reading stuff in a private journal I shouldn't be reading."
Yeah.
And you're like, "You are."
I'm like, "You are." And that's
Yeah.
what makes this book so special, because you get to feel the inner workings and what's going on. But back to your question about how did I choose this path of writing the book, like, to me, life, God, universe put Danielle there to say, "You gotta journal." And then in December, I suddenly had the idea of, like, "Oh my goodness, I could write a book about this." And that's how it happened. And, a few years later, here we are, and the book's in print, and everybody can read the story. But I didn't choose it, it chose me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That is wonderful. Yeah. And I like that you chose a book versus anything else out there.
Yeah, well, and a couple of things you mentioned there too is the aspect of wandering when you left on your journey and not knowing what's around the next curve or the next turn or whatever. That is a philosophy that has been with the Airstream brand since inception.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of Wally Byam's creeds, his aspect of enjoying an Airstream travel trailer is to just wander and explore. And so if you go into those kind of journeys with that mindset, you'll experience amazing things. And if you don't journal them some way, that, you, with it not being planned, you may forget something that was an amazing experience. Like if you know that, well, I know I'm going to Disney World and I know I'm going to spend a week there and I know I'm going to do this, this, and this, and then I'm going to come home, then you may not necessarily have to journal it. But if you don't know what's going to be around the next bend or the next county over, the next stop you make, those,
the next local that you talk to that says, "Oh, go check this out while you're in town."
All of that stuff. Yeah. So to journal those experiences, especially, going back to the fact that you're doing that travel solo, you don't have somebody there in the passenger seat to absorb that experience with too, and remember it and talk with you about it. I mean, it's journaling is wonderful that you did that.
Yes.
And how all of that became your book.
I like it.
Yeah. And there's, I love that you brought up the wander, because honestly, when I realized I was going to write a book, I was like, "Oh, this book is about wandering." Like, I just knew it. And actually it ended up not being about that. And I share, that's one thing, is I'm in the book, I share my inner workings, and I share about that, I really thought this was about wandering, but it ended up being about something totally different. But there's some really cool little, one-liners that I wrote in my journal that I sometimes am like, "Did I actually write that? Where did that come from?" And there's a few about wander, and I just happened to have them up this morning. I was working on some copy, and there's one that I'd like to share with you, if not a couple. And
Wonderful.
one is now, this book it's numbered sections. There's no chapters. There's it starts at number 1 and it ends up at 616. And each chapter, or not chapter, each section, some sections are just one word and some are a few paragraphs. But so number 187 in the book is to wander in the wild is to love with reckless abandon.
Ooh, I like that.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and that's one of there's several that I love, but that one is just because to me, when you're living in this way that you just described so beautifully, not knowing what's around the next bend, not planning where you're going to be, like everything is fresh and new and exciting. And I've had one of my friends tell me, I didn't realize this, but she just said, she goes, "You live enchanted with life." And I was like, "Oh my gosh," like I got goosebumps when she said that. And I was just like, "Oh my gosh," like that's a beautiful way to say it. And I believe it's the wander that lets me and whoever else is up for living like this, it's what allows for the enchantment. And you do like I through this 8-year journey, I fell in love with life. I fell in love with life and nature and God. And it was the wander, it was the unknown, it was having no clue what was gonna come up and being surprised by life over and over and over again. It's just you can't help but fall in love with everything.
Yeah, you're right.
I agree with that. I know that we did a trip out to Washington State with no intentions of going to like Olympic National Park or the Hoh Rainforest or any of, that. That just wasn't on our radar. That's not what we were doing. But in talking to our friend there, she's like, "Oh, you're this close. Are you going, here, here, here?" And we're like, "Well, no, we hadn't thought about it." She's like, "Oh, you got to go." And she's like, it's really nice. You'll enjoy it. But she wasn't like really selling it to us, but we're like, okay, we've got to go. And so we did. And when you talk about wandering and enchantment, that's exactly how I felt when I walked into the rainforest. That's exactly how I felt when we did the Olympic National Park, just walking through these massive trees, these fern covered grounds, the mist in the air, the ocean, just all of that together. I felt like a little kid in a fairy tale. And I was like, I never knew that this existed and in the US. And I said, this is real. Like you see movies as kids, you see movies and stuff and you think, oh, it's all Hollywood, they made all that stuff up. That's not a real place. And, you live in these fantasies or, these fantasies through movies, but to actually walk into that big, open, massive space and feel so tiny, but yet so inquisitive and so, safe. And all I wanted to do was explore and just what's next. And I think sometimes people in their daily lives that we're taught to live through, the norm or society or the concrete jungle, we forget about what life is really about and what's out there for us. We kind of grow up, and maybe I'm going way off topic here, but we kind of grow up with this whole belief system that life has to be a certain way, but it doesn't.
Well, I think a way to expand on that or to tie in what I think you're going for is that being aware to absorb that enchantment of a beautiful area or a beautiful aspect of travel like that makes you more open to receiving more of that.
Well, of course, you're experiencing something with fresh eyes. Like we're not a local there. Like if someone went to where we grew up and did stuff, came to us and we said, "Oh, go see this," we think, "Oh, go see that." We're so used to it, but to see something like that with open eyes, and when I've been in reading your book, and thank you very much for letting us participate in the pre-sale of your book and reading it. But in reading your book, I felt like I was right there with you. And I felt like, well, you even mentioned it a few minutes ago about the passenger in the seat or whatever, but your voice, when you start reading, it just like your voice is right there with me. It's not like you're performing or you're speaking to me. It's like we're really there together, and I can feel it. I experience it, the emotion.
And you're talking about her voice in writing, not her audible voice.
No. Yeah, her writing voice. Yeah, like in my mind, I'm sitting here hearing your voice. I'm hearing you. I'm feeling it. I'm hearing it. I laughed. I cried a little bit, I'm like, oh my gosh. So, and it's beautiful. And I love that. And, Chris and I try to come across that way with the podcast to make the listener feel like they're actually sitting right here with us in a conversation. Even though they're not talking, they're like the fly on the wall with us. And we want them to feel, included with us. And that's exactly how I felt in reading the book. And the passion and the rawness and the beauty of it. I thank you for that. And I thank you for sharing it and really appreciate it. And I think that your readers are going to feel the same way. They are. Yeah. They already are. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. And yeah, that was something I've set out to do is, a lot of people write a book and you sound like a writer, and
yes.
And to me, a big part of why I feel like this book could touch so many lives is because you really don't need to even like traveling. I've had several people read the book that could care less about travel, but it's the personal connection. And you can't have a personal connection without doing exactly what you just described. And what you two do on this podcast is you just got to be yourself. You got to, talk and share as if you were just talking to your best friend or the kid next door, you name it. And that's how people feel close. That's when people feel connected, is when they can feel your authentic, true self coming through either by voice or by the written page.
Yeah. Well, I have a two-part question I want to ask based on all of that is part one of that is, and it's kind of a selfish question based on the Airstream subject matter, but like, do you feel like the experiences you had and what you put in the memoir, how much of that do you feel like was as a result, or at least that your Airstream contributed to those experiences? So that's kind of part one of the question, and then I have a second part.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, I joke around that Coddy is my main character other than me in the book, and by the way, if you remember correctly, Coddy is my Airstream.
Yes. Right.
But to me, Coddy is not a piece of metal with some nice stuff inside. Like, Coddy is a living being. And at first I was kind of embarrassed, years and years ago, I'd be like, I know, I kind of talk about Coddy like she's alive. And I had some very close friends and even people that I didn't know say, I love how you talk about Coddy. I love how you talk about her like she's alive, because she is.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's even a love story with me and Coddy. Like, we didn't know each other when we first met in 2017. And now it's, I had somebody a few weeks ago ask if I still have my Airstream. I'm like, oh my gosh, me and Coddy, we're a package deal. And,
yep.
Like, I hope she's still around, just like I mentioned with the turtle. I hope when I'm gone, like, somebody else can enjoy her,
yes.
and I'm like, me and Coddy are a package deal until death does us part, and so this journey, the Airstream, Coddy, like, my whole journey would not have been the same without Coddy, not just because she's a beautiful specimen and she takes care of me and I take care of her, but because of the family that came along with Coddy that I didn't even know was out there. And I remember I mentioned when we talked, a few weeks ago about doing this, and you asked about, about people I've met, and I shared the very first, I call angels, my very first angels, was in February of 18. So this would have been, I'd have been on the road for 3 months at this time, and I had the original Hensley hitch from when Coddy was a brand new little girl. And it just gave out in a parking lot in Katy, Texas. I backed in to sleep for the night and something snapped. And I got out and crawled around and realized that I am not fixing this. And so I took it off. I took the whole Hensley off in the parking lot and threw it in my truck and drove on the ball to an RV park west of San Antonio. And I went on Airstream Addicts and I said, "Hey guys, my Hensley broke. I just looked up how much a new one cost. Oh my goodness, is there anything else out there that's not that expensive?" And a bunch of people were responding, and they were all asking where I was. And one thing I've known since the beginning is I don't ever tell people where I'm in because I'm a single female and I don't want any admirers.
Right.
And so, but they had asked me, "Can you just give me the general area?" And so I said something like, I don't know, whatever, northeast or northwest of San Antonio or something, wherever I happen to be. And this lady messaged me privately and she said, "Hey, I see what you're doing and I know you're trying to stay safe, but I think me and my husband are very close to wherever you are. And we have 5 Airstreams and they all have Hensleys. And number 1, we think you should keep a Hensley. And number 2, we'll help you, whatever you need." And she's like, "Where are you?" And I'm not going to stalk you, And so I told her where I was. And well, she had told me where she was. And sure enough, they were a half hour away. And I told her where I was. And long story short, they got sick with the flu or something. And I ended up ordering my new Hensley and put it on myself. And when I was heading out of town, I just said, "I know you're sick, but I just want to say thank you." And they're like, "We're better. Come over." So I was literally leaving town and then I thought, well, I'll just go say hi. So I drove to their property about a half hour away and we just talked. And then before you know it, it was getting late in the day and they were like, "Please stay the night and, we'll have breakfast and send you off." And so I stayed the night. And then the next day came and we had the same truck. We had the same exact truck, Ram 2500. And he the next morning said, "I was thinking about you all night," because he had seen in the back of my truck and I was dealing with Rubbermaid tubs and it was a mess. And he said, I just thought about you all night long and I want to show you something." And he opened up the back of his truck and it was this beautiful handmade thing of beauty. just a way to keep yourself, it was like something you would have paid thousands of dollars for to organize the back of your truck with 2 levels with foot lockers underneath. And he said, if you buy the materials, me and you can build this. I've already done it for my truck and it'll be simple to do it for yours, but just stay another 3 days and I'll make you a materials list. You go to Home Depot and me and you will build this and it will change everything. Cause I can't believe you're living how you are with these Rubbermaid tubs. So I had places to go, but I was like, you know what? Okay, I'll stay. And I ended up staying with them for a week. And by the end, their names are Sherry and Henry. And they live in Colorado, but they winter in Texas. And they turned into family. Like by the end, I remember the second to last day, me and Henry were just sitting at a table eating lunch. And Henry was in tears and I was in tears and we were talking about love. And they became my first, what I call angels. And it was the Airstream family. And in fact, they're the ones that said, talked about, Airstream Club. And I didn't even know what that was. And so they talked me into joining their unit, the Heart of Texas unit. And 8 years later, I've actually never gone on a camping trip in Texas with the Heart of Texas unit ever, just because for some reason I've never been back there.
Yeah.
But I'm still to this day a member of the Heart of Texas unit because of Sherry and Henry, and just they were my first ones. And then little did I know how many Sherry and Henrys are out there. And then I got to be the Sherry and Henry for other people. And it's just, so that is the part when you first see a shiny, beautiful Airstream rolling on the road and you think, oh, it might be nice to own one. You don't realize what you're getting when you make that purchase. And it's way more than just an RV.
That's true.
It absolutely is.
Yeah. And you said it perfectly and described everything perfectly. We've talked about it before about the community coming along with your Airstream, but what you just said was great. That hit home.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're still, beautiful friends with them today. And that was 8 years ago. Yeah.
Well, and we've texted and we've talked, but we've actually never been together since. And you would never guess that because that was back in 2018. But just the bond goes much further than being together in person.
Agreed.
It does. And it's a human bond, but what is keeping that connection in a big way is the Airstream. And, it's just an amazing energy that's around Airstream ownership that once you connect. And to your point, how many of those couples are out there, there's thousands and thousands of people that have that kind of, helpful, loving attitude towards their fellow Airstreamer, and it's all because of the culture and the history of the and the energy, positive energy of the brand. I mean, it really is.
Yeah,
it is.
All right, so last quick question, and then we'll start wrapping up, I guess. And it's the second part of my question.
Okay,
sure.
Yeah, part two.
Part two, and then I want to chat with her too, if that's okay.
Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. I might be getting ready to ask the same question you're getting ready to ask.
Oh, you think? Well, go ahead. It's your part two.
Well, I just was thinking, you had that year that you did the travel that you journaled and created the memoir out of, and then obviously it's together now. You've got it out. You're getting ready to really start putting the book out in front of the Airstream community in a big way. So when you got it finished and you can now revisit that journey, that year in print, what surprised you the most about that?
Wow, that's a good question. I feel like it's related to part one of your question, and
that's why I did a 2-part question. See,
there you
go. Oh, there he goes.
See,
yeah, look at him.
I'm a professional podcast host.
Yeah,
sort of.
There you go.
Sorta. We're figuring it out.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, because I've edited and reread and rewritten and even, recorded the audiobook. So I'm very intimately familiar with this book many times over. And I feel like what surprises me, every time I go back is the depth and beauty of the human connection. Like, I thought this book was about wandering, and I thought it was about a lot of things. And I realized that it is about a lot of different things. But what I feel like surprises me most is just how intimately close I got with so many people that I just met, and what's fun is you don't have to be an Airstreamer, because honestly, where I went, there wasn't, I was way, way off the beaten path. And I don't even know if I saw that many Airstreams the whole time I was up in Canada, way far on the Atlantic coast. But it was just people in general, just the kindness of strangers and the depth of connection that's available when we let go of all labels and judgment about the person sitting in front of us.
Yeah.
And even let go of judgment about being safe or being comfortable with strangers, because, there's several stories in this book where, the person I'm with just starts laughing, saying, I can't believe we're doing, fill in the blank. And 15 minutes ago, we didn't even know each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but to me, that's the natural connection that's available to us all with everyone when we just, again, get out of our own way and just be with humans. And so I think that's the most surprising bit of the book is, one, it's touching because I lived it and I can remember, the person and the people, but it's just, again, to feel how close we were, and what we learn from each other too, like all the things we can learn and see and know through each other beyond just the love and care of another human.
Yeah. Well, and I'm going to take that comment again back to the early days of Airstream and Wally Baum. Is if you look at footage of what they were doing in the 50s and stuff with the African caravan, the around the world caravan, and these caravanners rolling into a place that they've never been before and interacting with the local people of those areas, that's just a gesture of goodwill from one human to the next.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And you're living that.
And a lot of times they couldn't even speak the language.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was just a philosophy, just what they did. And, that I feel like is, it's just, you're absorbing that from owning an Airstream in a way and allowing that to happen to you. And, that's not the only reason, but I just feel like there's some connection there. And you have, your own set of experiences like that with the humans that you interacted with that you've got in your memoir, and it's just because you were open to receive it.
Open. I like that. Being open.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And speaking of being open, and there is some things that we would like to share with the listener about your book, and that is, and we'll let you share it, but we're gonna give you the opportunity to talk about your the website. You have your personal website, and then of course the book website, and then your official book launch is just in a couple weeks. It's in January 21st, right?
Right.
Yeah. So will you take just a few minutes and share with our listeners about what's happening around that and how they can find events where you'll be?
Sure. So the best place to look is perfectunfolding.com. So the book has its website, and if you scroll down to the bottom, I have a list of events, and I'm adding to them as we have them, as we plan them. But what's fun is, so the official book launch, where you can buy it, wherever books are sold, is January 21st. But I'm having a really fun launch event online on Zoom, and that's on January 17th. And so we're going to just hang out for about an hour and 90 minutes, hour and a half. And one of the people from the book, it's a friend that lives in Mexico. She's going to host it. So she's going to be the MC and asking me questions and taking questions from people. So that's going to be a really fun event. And I don't have a link. We're not sure exactly how we're going to do it, but I have a place. If you go on my website and you click on the tab for launch event, you can just put your name and email in. And as soon as I have that, the link and information, I'll send it out. But that's going to be at 1 Eastern on January 17th.
Oh, that'll be nice. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yes. So then my personal website is KristyH.com. Just my first name and last initial. The first kind of book event of the year is at the Can Opener Rally. So my mom and I have been going to the Can Opener together for many years, and that's in near Destin, Florida, at Topsail Preserve. It's the first official Airstream rally of the year. And so that first Tuesday on January 6th, I'm going to have the same thing, about an hour and a half, but live, in person. Ask me anything, and I'll share about the book at the Can Opener Rally.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's going to be nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
And you talk about your mom a lot, and we didn't talk about that today, but you talk about her in the book. You talk about her on your website a little bit and stuff. So big hugs to your mom and to you, and you guys have a bond and a love that all mother-daughters should be able to share. That is amazing.
It is. She's traveled with me. Her longest stint was 3 months. She thought she was coming for a month. This was back in 22, but I kidnapped her for 3 and went all the way across the whole country from Florida to California and then back a little bit. But no, she's a member of the ACI. She's my partner on my membership. And I tell you what, you get to learn more about our journey before Airstreaming in the book, but that's one of the biggest gifts of my life, is the relationship with my mom.
Yeah.
And I just love, again, what being able to take her and Coddi has done. Because what we didn't talk about, Coddi is custom. She's got 2 bedrooms. She's got a front bedroom and a rear bedroom. So, and it's been nice because, mom has her area and I have mine, and we can just go indefinitely. And it's been a treat. And I have to thank Coddi and the Airstream world for welcoming mom in as they have.
That's great.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And your mom is who kind of pushed you to go full time, I think. And
oh yeah,
kudos to her. Way to go, mom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she and I signed a book and gave it to her, of course. And that's what I said. Like, this journey would not exist had she not done what she did. And you get to read it. The first section of the book is that story about what mom did to encourage me to go live this life. Mm-hmm. And I would not be living this life if it wasn't for that one conversation. And it's one of those things, like, you never know when you pick up the phone that this might be the phone call that literally changes your life forever. And that one phone call with mom allowed for everything that's happened in this last 8 years.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it really is. Well, we can't thank you enough for your time and the amazing, just positive aspect of this conversation. It was wonderful. Every part of it was a positive thought and connection. So great stuff. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This has been a joy and a pleasure.
Yep. Well, we wish you the very best and have fun at Can Opener. So sorry we can't be down there with you.
Sorry we're going to miss that. We'd like to be there.
But we wish you the best on the book and your travels, and we sure hope that we can cross paths and see you down the road sometime real soon.
I sure hope so, too. Thank you so much. I can't wait to give you both a real hug one day.
Oh, me too.
There you go.
I like hugs.
Yep, we both do.
I love it. All
right.
Thank you, Kristy. We appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you too. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Right. We'll see you down the road.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Gina, that is one more awesome solo Airstreamer right there.
She sure is. And man, she has experienced some really cool things, hasn't she?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
Great story. She's got a great book. Everybody go check it out. And
she's super nice.
Hope you enjoyed this episode. Check out all our socials, The Riveted with Chris and Gina on Facebook and Instagram, YouTube, all the good stuff. Yeah, and don't forget to send us a question or get in touch with us through our email or through our webpage too. info@therivetedfox.com. Send us a note, and can't wait to see you on a future episode. And be ready for the perfect unfolding, Kristy's book release. Get ready, listener. It's coming. We'll see you down the road. See you down the road.
We've come a long way. And I only say goodbye because, we never say goodbye on a caravan. But we'll be seeing you down the road.